The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Chapter 19. The little prince climbed a high mountain. The only mountains he knew of were the three volcanoes, and they only reached up to his knees. And he used the extinct volcano as a footstool. From the top of a mountain as high as this one, he said to himself, I should be able to see the whole planet at one glance, and all the people. But the only things he could see were peaks of rocks as sharp as needles. Good morning, he said politely. Good morning, good morning, good morning, answered the echo. Who are you? Asked the little prince. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Answered the echo. Be my friends. I am all alone, he said. I am all alone, all alone, all alone, answered the echo. What a strange planet, he thought to himself. It is quite dry, covered with peaks, salty and inhospitable, and the people have no imagination. They just repeat what everyone says to them. On my planet I had a flower. She was always the first to speak. Chapter 20. However, the little prince, having walked for a long time through the desert, the rocks, and the snow, at last came upon a road, and all roads lead to men. Good morning, he said, coming upon a garden full of roses. Good morning, said the roses. The little prince gazed at them. They all resembled his flower. Who are you? He asked in amazement. We are roses, said the roses. Oh! exclaimed the little prince, and he was suddenly overcome with sadness. His flower had told him that she was the only one of her kind in the universe, and here were 5,000 of them, all alike, in one single garden. She would be rather resentful, he thought to himself, if she could see this. She would cough and pretend she was dying so as to avoid being thought ridiculous. And I would have to pretend to nurse her, for otherwise she would really let herself die, in order to humiliate me. And he said to himself once again, I thought I was rich, with a flower unique in the world, whereas in fact all I had was a common rose. That, and my 3 volcanoes which came up to my knees, of which one is perhaps extinct forever. That doesn't make me a very great prince. And, lying in the grass, he cried. Chapter 21. It was then that the fox appeared. Good morning, said the fox. Good morning, the little prince replied politely, though when he turned around he saw nothing. I am here, said the voice, under the apple tree. Who are you? Said the little prince. You are very pretty. I am a fox, said the fox. Come and play with me, suggested the little prince. I am so terribly sad. I cannot play with you, said the fox. I am not tame. Oh, I'm so sorry, said the little prince. But after some thought, he asked, What does tame mean? You do not live here, said the fox. What are you looking for? I'm looking for men, said the little prince. What does tame mean? Men, said the fox, have rifles and they hunt. It is a real nuisance. They also raise chickens. Those are the only activities they are interested in. Are you looking for chickens? No, said the little prince. I'm looking for friends. What does tame mean? It is something which is too often forgotten, said the fox. It means to establish ties. To establish ties. That's right, said the fox. To me, you are still just a little boy like 100,000 other little boys, and I have no need of you, and you have no need of me either. To you, I am just a fox like 100,000 other foxes. But if you tame me, we shall need one another. To me, you will be unique, and I shall be unique to you. I'm beginning to understand, said the little prince. There is a flower. I think she has tamed me. Possibly, said the fox. One sees all sorts of things on earth. Oh, but this is not on earth, said the little prince. The fox seemed puzzled. On another planet? Yes. Are there any hunters on that planet? No. That's interesting. And any chickens? No. Nowhere is perfect, sighed the fox. Presently he returned to his theme. My life is monotonous. I hunt chickens and men hunt me. All chickens are alike, and all men are alike. So I get a little bored. But if you tame me, my life will be full of sunshine. I shall recognize the sound of a step different from all others. The other steps send me hurrying underground. Yours will call me out of my burrow like the sound of music. And look yonder. Do you see the cornfields? I do not eat bread. Wheat is of no use to me. Those cornfields don't remind me of anything, and I find that rather sad. But you have hair the color of gold, so it will be marvelous when you have tamed me. Wheat, which is also golden, will remind me of you, and I shall love the sound of the wheat in the wind." The fox became silent and gazed for a long time at the little prince. "I beg of you, tame me," he said. "Willingly," the little prince replied, "but I haven't got much time. I have friends to discover and a lot of things to understand." "One can only understand the things one tames," said the fox. "Men have no more time to understand anything. They buy ready-made things in the shops. But since there are no shops where you can buy friends, men no longer have any friends. If you want a friend, tame me." "What should I do?" asked the little prince. "You must be very patient," replied the fox. "First you will sit down at a little distance from me, like that, in the grass. I shall watch you out of the corner of my eye, and you will see nothing. Words are a source of misunderstandings, but every day you can sit a little closer to me." The next day the little prince returned. "You should have come back at the same time," said the fox. "If, for example, you come at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I shall start feeling happy at 3 o'clock. As the time passes, I shall feel happier and happier. At 4 o'clock, I shall become agitated and start worrying. I shall discover the price of happiness. But if you come at just any time, I shall never know when I should prepare my heart to greet you. One must observe certain rites." "What is a rite?" asked the little prince. "It is something which is all too often forgotten," said the fox. "It is what makes one day different from other days, one hour different from other hours. For example, there's a rite among my hunters. On Thursdays, they go dancing with the village girls. So Thursday is a marvelous day for me. I can take a walk as far as the vineyards. But if the hunters were to go dancing just any day, every day would be like any other day for me, and I would never have a holiday." Thus it was that the little prince tamed the fox. And when the time came for his departure, the fox said, "Oh, I shall cry." "It is your own fault," said the little prince. "I wished you no harm, but you wanted me to tame you." "Yes, indeed," said the fox. "But you are going to cry," said the little prince. "That is so," said the fox. "Then it has not helped you in any way." "It has helped me," said the fox, "because of the color of the wheat fields." Then he added, "Go, and have another look at the roses, and you will understand that yours is indeed unique in all the world. Then you will come back to say good-bye to me, and I shall tell you a secret as a gift." The little prince went off to look at the roses again. "None of you are at all like my rose. As yet you are nothing," he said to them. "Nobody has tamed you, and you have tamed no one. You are like my fox when I first encountered him. He was just a fox like 100,000 other foxes. But I made him my friend, and now he is unique in all the world." And the roses were greatly embarrassed. "You are beautiful, but you are empty," he continued. "One cannot die for you. To be sure, an ordinary passer-by would believe that my very own rose looked just like you, but she is far more important than all of you because she is the one I have watered, and it is she that I have placed under a glass dome, and it is she that I have sheltered behind a screen, and it is for her that I have killed the caterpillars, except for the 2 or 3 saved to become butterflies. And it is she I have listened to complaining or boasting or sometimes remaining silent, because she is my rose." And he went back to the fox. "Good-bye," he said. "Good-bye," said the fox. "Now here is my secret. It is very simple. It is only with one's heart that one can see clearly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." "What is essential is invisible to the eye," the little prince repeated, so as to be sure to remember. "It is the time you lavished on your rose which makes your rose so important. It is the time that I lavished on my rose, said the little prince, so as to be sure to remember. Men have forgotten this basic truth, said the fox, but you must not forget it. For what you have tamed, you become responsible forever. You are responsible for your rose. I am responsible for my rose, the little prince repeated, so as to be sure to remember. Chapter 22. Good morning, said the little prince. Good morning, said the railway signalman. What do you do here? Asked the little prince. I sort out the travelers in bundles of 1,000, said the signalman. I shunt the trains carrying them, now to the right, now to the left. And a brilliantly lit up express train, roaring like thunder, shook the signal box as it rushed by. They are in a great hurry, said the little prince. What are they looking for? The locomotive driver doesn't even know himself, said the signalman. And a second brilliantly lit express train thundered by in the opposite direction. Are they already coming back? Asked the little prince. Those are not the same ones, said the signalman. It is an exchange. They were not satisfied where they were. No one is ever satisfied where he is, said the signalman. And they heard the roaring thunder of a third brilliantly lit express train. Are they pursuing the first travelers? Asked the little prince. They are pursuing nothing at all, said the signalman. They sleep in there, or they yawn. Only the children press their noses against the window panes. Only children know what they are looking for, said the little prince. They dote on a rag doll, and it becomes very important to them, and if it is taken away from them, they cry. They are lucky, said the signalman. Chapter 23. Good morning, said the little prince. Good morning, said the merchant. He was a merchant selling sophisticated pills intended to quench one's thirst. If a single pill was swallowed once a week, the need to drink disappeared. Why are you selling those? Asked the little prince. Because it saves a lot of time, said the merchant. Experts have worked it all out. You save 53 minutes a week. And what does one do with those 53 minutes? Whatever one wishes. If I had 53 minutes to spend, said the little prince, I would walk very slowly towards a spring of fresh water. Chapter 24. It was now 8 days since I had broken down in the desert, and I listened to the story of the merchant while drinking the last drop of my water supply. Ah, I said to the little prince, these memories of yours are quite delightful, but I haven't yet succeeded in repairing my plane. I have no water left to drink, and I, too, would be happy if I could walk slowly towards a spring of fresh water. My friend the fox said to me, My dear little chap, this has nothing to do with a fox. Why? Because we are going to die of thirst. He didn't follow my reasoning and replied, It is good to have had a friend, even if one is going to die. I am very happy to have had a fox as a friend. He does not realize the danger, I said to myself. He is never hungry or thirsty. All he needs is a little sunshine. But he looked at me and responded to my thoughts. I too am thirsty. Let's go and look for a well. I made a gesture of weariness. It is absurd to look for a well, at random, in the immensity of the desert. None the less, we started walking. We walked for hours in silence. Darkness fell, and the stars began to come out. Due to my thirst, I was slightly feverish, and saw them as in a dream. The little prince's last words came dancing back into my mind. So you are thirsty too? I asked him. But he did not reply to my question, and said simply, Water may also be good for the heart. I didn't understand his answer, but remained silent. I knew only too well that there was no point in questioning him. He was tired and sat down. I sat down beside him. After a short silence, he spoke again. The stars are beautiful because of a flower one cannot see. I replied, Of course, and I looked at the sand dunes under the moonlight in silence. The desert is beautiful, he added, and it was true. I have always loved the desert. One sits down on a sand dune and sees nothing, hears nothing, yet one can feel a silent radiation. What makes the desert so beautiful, said the little prince, is it that it hides a well somewhere. I was surprised by a sudden awareness of the sand's mysterious radiation. When I was a little boy, I lived in a very old house, and a legend told us that a treasure was buried there. To be sure, nobody had ever discovered it, nor even searched for it, perhaps. But it cast an enchantment over that house. My home was hiding a secret in the depths of its heart. Yes, I said to the little prince, be it a house, the stars, or the desert, the source of their beauty cannot be seen. I am glad that you agree with me, he said. As the little prince fell asleep, I took him in my arms and started walking again. I was deeply moved. It seemed to me I was carrying a very fragile treasure. It even seemed to me that there was nothing more fragile on all the earth. In the moonlight, I gazed at the pale forehead, the closed eyes, the locks of hair trembling in the breeze, and said to myself, what I see here is nothing but a shell. What is most important is invisible. As his lips opened slightly with the suspicion of a half smile, I said to myself once again, what moves me so deeply about this little prince sleeping here is his loyalty to a flower, the image of a rose shining through his whole being like the flame of a lamp, even when he is asleep. And I felt him to be more fragile still. Lamps should be protected with great care. A gust of wind can extinguish them. And I walked on, and at daybreak I discovered the well. Chapter 25. Men, said the little prince, crowd into express trains without knowing what they are looking for. So they become agitated and rush round in circles. After a pause, he added, it is not worth the trouble. The well we had reached did not look like the usual wells of the Sahara. The Sahara wells are simple holes dug in the sand. This one looked like a village well. But there is no village here, and I thought I was dreaming. How strange, I said to the little prince. Everything is ready. The pulley, the bucket, and the rope. He laughed, touched the rope, and set the pulley working. And the pulley moaned like an old weathercock when the wind has been asleep for a long time. Can you hear? Said the little prince. We have awakened the well, and it is singing. I did not wish him to make an effort. Leave it to me, I said to him. It is too heavy for you. Slowly, I pulled up the bucket and planted it firmly on the edge of the well. I could still hear the singing of the pulley in my ears and in the water, which was still trembling. I could see the shimmering of the sun. I am thirsty for this water, said the little prince. Give me some of it to drink. And I understood what he had been looking for. I raised the bucket to his lips. He drank with his eyes closed. It was as sweet as a festival treat. This water was something entirely different from ordinary nourishment. It was born from the walk under the stars, the singing of the pulley and the effort of my arms. It was good for the heart like a gift. When I was a little boy, the lights of the Christmas tree, the music of the midnight mass, the sweetness of the smiling faces, all made up the radiance of the Christmas gift I received. The men where you live, said the little prince, grow 5,000 roses in the same garden, and they do not find what they are looking for. They do not find it, I replied. And yet, what they're looking for could be found in a single rose or in a little water. Yes, indeed, I replied. And the little prince added, but the eyes are blind. One must look with the heart. I had drunk the water. I was breathing easily. The sand at sunrise is the color of honey, and I was very much enjoying this honey color. Why, then, was I feeling such grief? You must keep your promise, said the little prince softly as he sat down beside me again. What promise? You know, a muzzle for my sheep. I am responsible for this flower. So I took my rough sketches out of my pocket. The little prince looked at them and laughed as he said, your baobabs are a little bit like cabbages. Oh, and I had been so proud of my baobabs. Your fox, its ears, they look a little like horns, and they are too long. And he laughed again. You are unfair, little prince. Remember, I could only draw boa constrictors from the outside and boa constrictors from the inside. "Oh, that's enough," he said. "Children understand." So I drew a muzzle with a pencil, and my heart ached when I gave it to him. "You have plans I know nothing about." But he didn't answer. Instead, he said to me, "You know my descent to Earth. Tomorrow will be its anniversary." Then, after a short silence, he added, "I came down very near here." And he blushed. And once again, without understanding why, I had a strange feeling of sorrow. However, a question came to my mind. "So it is not by mere chance that on the morning I met you 8 days ago you were wandering around all by yourself 1,000 miles from any human habitation. You were returning to the place where you had landed." The little prince blushed again, and I added a little hesitantly, "Perhaps because of the anniversary?" The little prince blushed again. He never answered questions, but when one blushes, it means yes, does it not? "Oh dear, I am a bit frightened," I said to him. Reassuringly, he replied, "Now you must work. You must get back to your engine. I shall wait for you here. Come back tomorrow evening." But I was not reassured. I remembered the fox. One runs the risk of crying a bit if one allows oneself to be tamed. Chapter 26. Beside the well, there was the ruin of an old stone wall. When I came back from my work on the following evening, I saw from some distance my little prince sitting on top of it, his legs dangling, and I heard him saying, "Don't you remember? It was not quite here." No doubt another voice answered him, since he replied, "Yes, yes, it is the right day, but not the right spot." I continued walking towards the wall, but still could neither see nor hear anybody. Yet the little prince answered once again, "Yes, of course. You will see where my track begins in the sand. Just wait for me there. I shall be there tonight." I was a mere 20 meters from the wall, and yet I could see nothing. After a short silence, the little prince spoke again. "Is your poison good? Are you sure it will not make me suffer for too long?" I stopped in my tracks, my heart aching, but I still did not understand. "Now go away," he said. "I want to get down." Whereupon I dropped my eyes to the foot of the wall, and what I saw made me leap into the air. It was there, raising its head towards the little prince, one of those yellow snakes which can kill you in a matter of seconds. Groping in my pocket for my revolver, I started running, but because of the noise I was making, the snake gently slipped back into the sand, like the dying spray of a fountain, and, in no apparent hurry, disappeared among the stones with a light metallic sound. I reached the wall just in time to catch my little prince in my arms. His face was white as snow. "What does this mean?" I asked him. "Why are you talking with snakes?" I had untied the golden muffler which never left him. I had moistened his temples and given him a little water to drink. And now I didn't dare ask him any more questions. He looked at me gravely and put his arms around my neck. I could feel his heart beating like the heart of a dying bird, shot with someone's rifle. He said to me, "I'm so glad you discovered what was the matter with your engine. Now you can go home." How did you know? In fact, I was coming to tell him that, contrary to all expectations, my endeavors had been successful. He didn't reply to my question, but whispered, "I too am going home today." Then he added, a little sadly, "It is much farther away. It is far more difficult." I could sense that something quite extraordinary was about to happen. I was holding him tightly in my arms like a child, and yet it seemed to me that he was slipping straight down into an abyss, and I could do nothing to prevent it. His gaze was grave and lost in the distance. "I have your sheep, and I have the box for the sheep, and I also have the muzzle." And he smiled sadly. I waited for a long time. I could feel that little by little he was getting warmer. "My dear little man, you are afraid." Of course he had been frightened, but he laughed gently. I shall be far more frightened this evening. Once again I was frozen by a sense of something irreparable, and I realized that I couldn't bear the thought of never hearing that laugh again. It was like a spring of fresh water in the desert for me. Little Prince, I want to hear you laughing again. But he said to me, tonight it will be a year. My star will be just above the spot where I came down a year ago. Little Prince, I said, tell me it is just a bad dream, this story of a snake and of a meeting and a star. But he did not answer my question. Instead, he said to me, what is important cannot be seen. Yes, I know. Just as for the flower. If you love a flower which happens to be on a star, it is sweet at night to gaze at the sky. All the stars are a riot of flowers. Yes, I know. It is the same with the water. The draught you gave me was just like music because of the pulley and the rope. You remember, don't you? It was sweet. Yes, I know. At night you will gaze at the stars. Where I live everything is so small that I cannot show you where mine is. It's better like that. My star will be just one of the stars for you. So you will love looking up at them all. They will all be your friends. And I have a present for you. He laughed again. Ah, little Prince, my dear little Prince, I love to hear that laughter. Precisely, that will be my gift, as it was with the water. What are you saying? The stars mean different things to different people. For some, they are nothing more than twinkling lights in the sky. For travelers, they are guides. For scholars, they are food for thought. For my businessmen, they are wealth. But for everyone, the stars are silent, except from now on, just for you. What do you mean? When you look up at the sky at night, since I shall be living on one of them and laughing on one of them, for you it will be as if all the stars were laughing. You and only you will have stars that can laugh. And as he said it, he laughed. And when you are comforted, time soothes all sorrows. You will be happy to have known me. You will always be my friend. You will want to laugh with me, and from time to time you will open your window, just for the pleasure of it. And your friends will be astonished to see you laughing whilst gazing at the sky. And so you will say to them, yes, stars always make me laugh. And they will think you are crazy. I shall have played a very naughty trick on you. And once again he laughed. It will be as if I had given you, instead of stars, a lot of little bells that can laugh. And again he laughed. Then he became serious again. Tonight, you know, do not come. I shall not leave you. I shall seem to be in pain. I shall look as if I were dying. It is just like that. Do not come to see that. There's just no point. I shall not leave you. But he was worried. I'm telling you this, partly because of the snake. It must not bite you. Snakes are vicious creatures. They can bite just for the fun of it. I shall not leave you. But a thought reassured him. It is true that they have no poison left for a second bite. That night, I did not see him set out. He had left without a sound. When I managed to catch up with him, he was walking along with a quick and resolute step. He merely said to me, "Oh, you are here," and he took me by the hand. But he was still worrying. "You should not have come. You will be unhappy. I shall look as if I were dead, and it will not be true." I said nothing. "You must understand, it is too far. I cannot carry this body with me. It is too heavy." I said nothing. "It will look like an old abandoned shell. Not anything to be sad about." I said nothing. He was a little discouraged, but he made one last effort. "It will be nice, you know. I too shall look at the stars. All the stars will be wells with rusty pulleys. all the stars will pour me some water to drink. I said nothing. It will be such fun. You'll have 500 million little bells. I shall have 500 million springs of fresh water. And he too said nothing more, because he was crying. Here it is. Let me go on by myself. And he sat down, because he was afraid. Then he said, You know, my flower, I am responsible for her. And she is so weak, so trusting. She has 4 tiny thorns to protect herself against the world. I sat down because I could not remain standing any longer. He said, There now, that is all. He hesitated a little more. Then he stood up. He took 1 step forward. I couldn't move. There was nothing more than a flash of yellow close to his ankle. He stood motionless for a moment. He did not cry out. He fell as gently as a tree falls. There was not even the slightest sound because of the sand. Chapter 27. And now 6 years have already gone by, and I have never before told this story. The companions who met me when I returned were glad to see me alive. I was sad, but told them I was tired. Now I have overcome part of my sorrow. In other words, I have recovered, but not entirely. I do know that he has gone back to his planet, because I didn't find his body at daybreak. It wasn't such a heavy body after all. And I love to listen to the stars at night. It is like listening to 500 million little bells. But one thing worries me. When I drew the muzzle for the little prince, I forgot to add the leather strap to it. He will never be able to fasten it to his sheep. So I keep wondering what has happened on his planet. Perhaps the sheep has eaten the flower. From time to time I say to myself, surely not. The little prince covers his flower every night with her glass dome and watches his sheep carefully. Then I am happy, and all the stars laugh softly. But then I think, everyone can be absent-minded at times, and it only takes once. He forgot the glass dome one evening, or the sheep slipped out noiselessly during the night, and the little bells all changed themselves into tears. This is indeed a great mystery. For those of you who, like me, love the little prince, nothing in the universe can be the same while somewhere, nobody knows where, a sheep which we have never seen may or may not have eaten a flower. Look at the sky. Ask yourselves, has the sheep eaten the flower? Yes or no? And you will see how everything changes. And no grown-ups will ever understand why it is so important. This is, to me, the most beautiful and saddest landscape in the world. It is the same landscape as in the last picture, but I have drawn it once again to impress upon your memory. It is here that the little prince appeared on earth and then disappeared. Look very carefully at the landscape so as to be sure to recognize it if ever one day you travel to Africa through the desert. And if you should happen to come upon this spot, please do not hurry on. Wait a little, exactly under the star. Then, if a child comes towards you, if he laughs, if he has golden locks, and if he refuses to answer questions, you will surely guess who he is. So be kind. Do not leave me grieving. Write to me quickly to tell me that he has come back.